Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today, too.
Well, it brings me a little bit of normalcy, which is really good because other than that, I feel like I don't really have much of a purpose other than being a dad. So
that's a big purpose, though.
Right, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's got to be really crazy for you going 100 miles per hour. You're in spring training and you're doing everything you can to get ready for the 2020 season, and then all of a sudden it abruptly stops. That's got to be shocking for you.
It was, well, shocking for sure. I think it kind of developed. It obviously developed pretty fast. However, we kind of all saw it coming. We were talking about it in the clubhouse. We had, basically as soon as spring training started, we had meetings about the coronavirus and how we can make sure that we stay healthy and keep everybody in the clubhouse healthy and things like that. And then on Wednesday when the NBA shut down, it was kind of like, okay, when's this going to happen for us? You know, it was something that shocked everybody, but then also I think we all saw it coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was your reaction, I guess, when they told you to, pack up in Arizona and head home? You can't stay here.
Well, for lack of a better word, it sucked.
Yeah, it's a good word for it.
I think that we all, I mean, obviously it's good to be home with family and spend time here and during a time where you're not normally here, obviously. But we all want to play. We all spend all off season kind of getting ready for spring training. Then we spend all spring training getting ready for the season. And then 2 weeks before the season starts, it kind of all comes to a screeching halt. You know, it really sucks. But I mean, obviously it feels kind of weird talking about sports when we're going through everything that we're going through as a country, you know. So on a personal level, it really does suck. And I wish I was in Arizona getting ready to think about packing up to drive or fly back, to Cincinnati and get ready for opening day, but that's not the case. And I think as everybody's doing, we're trying to search for some positive news, some good news, and hopefully we get more of that coming here the next few days or so, or as we go on.
Well, and I noticed that you created some positive news in Zionsville, donating $500 to 2 different restaurants there. What was the message behind that, and what was your motivation for doing that for people there?
Well, there's a station in Indianapolis a sports talk show station that I listen to in the off season and things like that. 1070 The Fan, shameless plug. But I know a lot of the people there, and I've known them for quite some time. And one of their anchors, Dan Dockage, who coached at Indiana and played basketball at Indiana, was talking about trying to create a national thing with like Takeout Thursday, and just trying to support local business and things like that. And so I was listening to that and then talking with Sierra and just kind of bouncing some ideas back and forth, trying to figure out like a way to. Food for me is like a getaway from things like I talk about all the time. I tweet about all the time about food, and just kind of we were out driving around because she had a doctor's appointment today for our second kid, and we were passing a bunch of local things, and I was like, you know what, this sounds like a pretty cool idea, and it kind of happened really fast. And there's just a few the town I live in is really small. I mean, we have a cobblestone main street.
I love it.
So it tells you a little bit of anything. It's very small, and we frequent a lot of the places down there. And you drive through, and a lot of places are closed. A lot of retail is closed, and it's just weird, you know. And there's not any. It's usually a bunch of people walking around and eating outside and things like that. And there's obviously none of that now. It's just kind of sad, really. And so for me, it was something that. Hold on, so sorry.
Yeah.
I had a phone call, but it was something that I thought sounded good to do, and hopefully it kind of takes shape. And I want to do something like it in Cincinnati too. Maybe next week, if it kind of turns into something pretty good, that all the money gets spent or whatever. Maybe I find a place in Cincinnati that is small that I like to eat at, and maybe help them out too. Not trying to like do anything crazy, like not trying to be some big shot kind of thing, but just trying to help people out, you know. It sucks, and money and monetary things really bring stress to people, no matter who you are, you know. And so just kind of trying in a time of where there's never any really good news right now, it seems that maybe taking something off people's plates and putting something on people's plates is something that helps them kind of maybe get through the night a little bit better.
Well, I can definitely say that I believe the restaurants and the people who will be impacted by that will really appreciate it. And you mentioned your wife, Sierra. She's pregnant. I noticed that you guys had your 20-week scan. That's a nerve-wracking scan because they tell you if there's anything wrong with your baby at that point.
Right.
And not only are we dealing with a global pandemic, but you guys are walking into the hospital or the doctor's office to make sure that your second baby is okay. Did any crazy thoughts go through your mind going in there? Were you nervous at all? What was the situation?
Definitely nervous from both, kind of a lot of different avenues. We had it where we're going to have our second kid. We had our first kid there too. We had Tatum there, and they did a really good job of as soon as we walked in the hospital door, we had to take temperatures. They asked us a bunch of questions. Since we were in Arizona a week ago, we had to wear masks. Not that we're symptomatic by any means or anything like that. We didn't have fevers or anything like that. I don't want to make it sound like I'm sick or we're sick or anything like that. But just they were taking extra precautions. It was funny. We went up the elevator to the fourth floor, got off the elevator, and both of us had masks on. And there's like probably 6 or 7 people in the waiting room. Nobody has a mask on. I looked at Sierra. I said, "This is going to make people freak out."
Yeah,
completely
slightly.
Freak out. We got a lot of weird looks. Even the doctor that we saw, we didn't see our normal doctor, but we saw somebody in the practice, and the first thing she said when she walked in the room was, "Mass?" kind of like question mark. And we told her that, well, based on the fact that we traveled, I drove, they flew, we had to wear them to get to the appointment. So it was a little stressful from that avenue. But going into the appointment, just the magnitude of that appointment, checking all the internal stuff and the legs and the arms and the heart and everything.
Yeah.
That's obviously stressful as it is.
Right.
But then you add this stuff on to it too. Really, really, really stressful.
And, I know firsthand that being pregnant is very stressful, and being the person that's responsible for keeping that baby safe and, as perfect as possible is really stressful in itself. Have you been doing anything for Sierra to kind of keep her calm, or is she even nervous at all with COVID-19 just breaking everywhere?
Yeah, so she dealt with, and she's very outspoken about it, she dealt with postpartum anxiety pretty badly with Tatum. And so she's an anxious person, and no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And she would say the same. So we talk about it, and I'm a news watcher. I love to watch the news on social media, basically to interact with people. But more than anything, I get my news from social media. And so, we see everything, we read everything, and we just talk about when all of it's said and done. If you get to an anxious point where you're feeling anxious, almost kind of say out loud the facts that people are the studies and everything that are out currently, as far as there's a study out that even if you were to contract the COVID-19, that it doesn't affect the fetus or anything like that. So that's obviously a major plus, albeit it's a small amount of people that they've tested. But however, it is a positive thing. Just kind of finding some good things to say. We're cleanly people. We take our temperatures on the daily pretty much, just to kind of from my perspective, to if I were to come down with having a fever, that I could let the organization know exactly when I got it, when I started having symptoms, and then for her perspective, just to make sure that she's safe, obviously. And then our son, he'll be 3 in August, we got to make sure that he's healthy, obviously, too. So I think that we kind of take measures into our own hands, even prior to this, to keep ourselves healthy and keep a healthy environment. So we just try to talk about that, if things come across as maybe a little, not depressing, or not the right word, but a little somber and you can't, it's negative, things like that. So we try to talk about some positive things and talk about the facts of the matter, and it's helped my stress and her stress. Obviously, I've got to be this quote-unquote air quote strong one, but there's a lot of times where I'm nervous as hell, and I try not to let anybody see it or her see it, just I don't want to make anything worse.
So are you guys self-quarantining in your house right now?
Kind of. I mean, we went to the appointment today.
Yeah.
Obviously, let's see. We get out for like a drive around town or around surrounding areas. That's basically about as much as we do. Luckily, we're in an area where like Click List is a thing,
Yeah.
and you can have your groceries kind of delivered if you want. We run out and like get a Starbucks occasionally just to kind of get out of the house, and like we normally do that anyway. So just to like maintain a level of normalcy around the house is just because there's so much of the same routine over and over again. You wake up, have breakfast, have coffee.
It's hard.
Tatum goes down, takes a nap, wakes up, we cook dinner, we go to bed. We watch shows on TV, and then we go to bed. So it's just trying to find some things that kind of break up the day, just keep our own sanity, keep Tatum's sanity. And with the weather, I mean, obviously, I think as we go, obviously it's going to warm up, so being able to get outside and run around, things like that. I'm a golfer, so I love to go play golf.
Okay,
so
good.
Hopefully golf courses don't shut down. I'd be
that would
very
be
sad.
sad.
I did a local interview earlier today, and they were asking me, like, well, how are you passing the time today? And I was like, well, currently I'm drinking a Coors Light, I have my 60-degree sandwich in my hand, and I'm chipping golf balls in my basement, negotiating the tile and the carpet with a little Dixie cup across the way. So it's just trying to maintain some sort of normalcy around the house is what we're trying to do. So, in a long-winded answer, yes, we are, but we're not like going to an extreme of never leaving, I guess. But we aren't really going out unless we have to.
So if you are quarantined, what time is a good time for Beer 30? Like which... Is there ever too early of a time to open a beer if you're in quarantine?
There's every minute, every hour, I guess. Obviously, I sound like an alcoholic.
No, you don't. I think everybody can understand.
But I think that just I resort to, like, if I start to get stressed, like maybe I'll pour a glass of wine or something. I try to wait till 5 o'clock, but today was a day where I felt like I earned it, like getting through the hospital visit and the exam and all that stuff, and the test for, not the test for COVID-19, but the screening to get into the hospital. I got through all that safe and sound, so I felt like at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon I earned it.
I'm going to agree with that because that test is really stressful.
Thank you. I felt like I did.
Well, have you been, now that we're talking about a little bit about testing, have you been tested for it, or have you even had a need to, since you don't seem to me like you're showing any symptoms at all?
No, I haven't, and to me, like, I'm kind of under the, like, knowing that we haven't, like, we're not going back to the season anytime soon, and like we're going to like a little bit of an extreme of kind of self-quarantining. Like, I don't know that I want to know if I have it, like I'm going, like, I'm doing everything I possibly can to make sure that I'm healthy, and I don't have any sort of symptoms. I don't have a fever. I don't have any cough or anything like that at all, thankfully, knock on wood.
Yeah.
But I haven't been tested, so I don't know what's going to happen, obviously, in the future, but hopefully I kind of stay this course, and everybody in my house stays the course that they're on, and kind of just try to maintain some sort of normalcy.
Were you worried when you found out that a Reds employee was tested positive for COVID-19? Did that worry you?
A little bit, and then I kind of like walked back my spring training as far as being around him.
Okay.
And thankfully I wasn't around him. They sent us an email yesterday, and the CDC was quoted in the email, and it defined what they considered like close contact with somebody, and it was I had never had close contact based on the CDC's definition. I never had close contact with him. No.
Okay, so that's really encouraging, and I'm sure you felt much better after you went through, the steps of finding out whether or not you had close contact with him or not.
Very, very much so.
And we talk about just the craziness of what we're dealing with. I've never personally dealt with anything like this. Can you remember any kind of adversity that you've been through that is anything remotely like what we're dealing with right now?
Nothing like this, not at all. I think back to, like, obviously 9/11. I was in 5th grade at 9/11, like for 9/11, so I don't really remember it. I know I was at school, and I know my my dad picked me up from school and went to the gas station and got gas along with just about everybody else. And we went home, and I don't remember anything else other than that. But no, I can't think of anything like this. I think for me, the thing that's so crazy is the unknown. I think that the fact that all this is just such uncharted waters for not only sports but for like our country in general. I think that's the scariest part of it, and to not know like how long this is going to go on. Like obviously, I'm not trying to downplay 9/11 by any means.
Yeah.
I mean, there was tons of lives lost there, but you kind of knew that it was over. You know, it was something that wasn't really going to happen again, or like it was in the short term. Obviously, things were going to get back to normal, but like with this, it's like there's just nobody knows anything. Like, is it going to be from professionally? Is it going to be a situation where they're going to have to wait until the curve or whatever that everybody's talking about flattens out, and all the gathering bans are taken down? And are they going to play games with no fans? Are they going to wait till all the fans can come back to the ballpark? And it's such a weird time, because not only that, but like I'm trying to negotiate when should I start working out again, or should I continue to work out, or should I keep hitting, or should I not hit? Because for me, this feels like another off season, and in the off season, I take about a month off. Like obviously, I don't want to take a month off now, because we could find not a cure, but a medicine that treats it tomorrow, and that could really expedite things, and I need to be ready to play, obviously. But it's just really weird, and I'm kind of trying to take it day by day. I'm the union rep for the team, and so for me, like I'm in contact with like the PA, Major League Baseball, or the Reds just about every day. Like I get something that kind of maybe not provides clarity, but keeps you updated a little bit about what's going on. So it's such a weird time, and again, in a long-winded way, like I can't think of anything that, especially within the last, for me, within the last 15, almost 20 years, that I can ever remember that's like this.
And I don't know if people understand, maybe you can bring more clarity to this, how important spring training really is for you guys to get your bodies ready for a season. Obviously, this year it would be a shortened season, I would assume, because I think it might be pretty hard to play baseball in Cincinnati in December.
No, I agree completely.
But how long of a spring training would you guys need? Would it be a shortened spring training, do you think you would need?
I think it would have to be. I think that if you go into spring training and spend 6 weeks or 6 or 8 weeks like we would normally to get ready for the season, then you're talking about playing games, to your point, in December, and obviously outdoor stadiums in December in the Midwest or in the Northeast or in Minnesota. You're not going to be able to do that. So I can only really truly speak for me, like where I was at the end of our, I guess, first spring training, with 2 weeks left. Like for me, position player wise, I think that you can see that guys are pretty close within a few games of being ready for the season. Now, from a pitcher standpoint,
it's much different.
It's much different, obviously. And you're talking about our starting pitchers who, most were at about a 4-inning mark of about 65 pitches, and you're talking about guys that once a normal regular season rolls around, they're up to the 110s and 120s as far as pitch counts are concerned if the manager wants them out there, So you're talking double the workload of where they were at in spring training. So, I think that, and I've heard it a lot on my drive back from Arizona, I listen to MLB Network radio a lot, and there was a couple guys on there that were in the big leagues when the 94, 95 strikes happened, and it makes a lot of sense that that's really if the layoff is extended, which it's obviously going to be extended. The only thing that they can really go back to as far as rules are concerned, at least from at a starting level or starting point, would be that season. And I think that they did either a 2-week long spring training, and I think for me that makes a lot of sense, just because we had 2 weeks left in the spring training that we were at. Obviously, guys aren't going to be, in my opinion, fully ready to go at the end of that 2 weeks, I wouldn't think. just because we have been at home. We haven't been in the clubhouse environment, seeing live pitching every day like we were. But I feel like it's going to be a situation where guys are going to have to like get ready for the season during the season.
Right.
Just because I think when you start talking about lengthening the season or trying to play as close to 162 games as possible, if you're going to push that into late November and even early December, then you're talking about affecting the next year. So
right.
I think that's a slippery slope for baseball, is trying to figure out a way to get as many games in as possible. Because look, to be honest, I mean, I want to play 162 games because I want to make 162 games worth of money, obviously.
Right.
And if that's the way we're paid is per game, and so obviously that's what I want to do. Is it realistic? No, not at all. But I think that if you start to try and do that, one, you're going to wear out guys and risk injuries. And then two, you're looking at affecting the product that you put on the field the next year because of the off-season being shorter, possibly just affecting a lot of different things. It's going to be really interesting, and I'm glad I don't have to make any of the decisions.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be tough.
Well, as far as, you mentioned being paid per game, 162 games. Have they discussed with you any changes? What are their plans if they do have any?
Yeah, I've heard a ton of rumors. I field questions from our guys just about daily that I ask the union rep.
Yeah.
It's my contact if anybody has questions, and it's all it's so fluid, just like everything else is right now, that nobody knows an answer. I think that as of Wednesday, when we were told kind of that we were shutting, or Wednesday or Thursday, I don't remember what day. I think it was Thursday.
Yeah.
That we were shutting down. That Rob Manfred was flying to Arizona to meet with Tony Clark, because Tony was in Arizona at the time, to sit down and kind of discuss all the issues or things that could come up in this process. And I think to this day, as we talk, I think they're still ongoing. They keep me updated as much as they can, but it's very vague and it's very ever changing, I guess would be the best way to put it. I think that obviously the answer as far as from players are concerned, I mean, I don't think it's even realistic whatsoever to think that we're going to get paid our full year salary. I don't think that's possible. The owners, and nor should they, in my opinion. I mean, they shouldn't agree to pay us everything because we're not on the field producing a product,
That's a good point.
Howbeit I want to. Like I said, I would absolutely love to be paid for sitting here at home, but it's just, I mean, that's not reality, So it's just, like I said, it's a really fluid process, fluid thing going on as far as baseball is concerned, and obviously with the country too. And
my last question for you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me.
No,
you're good. No, you have so much good information. Do you have any kind of message for baseball fans? I know that so many fans are disappointed about the baseball season. Granted, everybody does understand the need for what's going on right now, but do you have any kind of words of encouragement for fans of yours?
Well, I think that for me, I think the season's going to be played. It may be shorter. We're going to play, and this is all going to maybe not end, but we're going to kind of be able to kind of reel it in a little bit as far as being able to control. I don't want to pretend like I know what COVID-19 really is and like how it's going to be fixed or whatever, but it's America. We're America, and we always get through stuff like this. So this is going to be no different. And I think on a bigger level, maybe more than baseball, is that there's no sides right now. There shouldn't be sides right now. It's not Republican, Democrat. It's not black versus white. It's not different cultures doing different things. Like, we're all Americans. We all need to get through this together. And I think baseball is very, very symbolic of what the country is. It brings so many different cultures together, and provides an outlet for people that to get away from the stresses of life. I know it does that for me. So for me, it's just maybe just kind of taking a step back and seeing the bigger picture. Maybe not necessarily worrying about when the baseball season is going to start again, but maybe worrying about the person next to you, not necessarily yourself, because I think more than anything, we see this virus that's going around. There's so many people that are asymptomatic. I mean, you see people that have no idea that they have it, but they do. And I think it's really paying attention to what the people that know what they're talking about pay attention to that stuff. I see all kinds of videos on social media about people saying, "Oh, this isn't that big of a deal. We're going to just live our lives," and things like that. Well, I mean, I don't think we should panic. However, I think it's something that there's a lot of people that make a lot more money than us, that are a lot smarter than us, that are saying things that they're saying for a reason. Yeah. And I think to kind of put those on the back burner would be idiotic, and it's going to kind of push this thing further and further. And from a baseball standpoint, the further that we, or the longer we go without listening to these people, the shorter our season's going to be, and the longer we're going to be away from the ballpark. So just kind of take care of yourself, but then also kind of make sure that you're paying attention to the people around you, because again, it may be a situation where you may not have any sort of symptoms whatsoever, but you might have the virus and you pass it along, and then they pass it along, and it just keeps kind of going and building and snowballing into something that keeps us out of the ballpark until July. And I sure as hell don't want that. I know a lot of people, most everybody in Cincinnati and surrounding areas doesn't want that either.
Well, Tucker, thank you so much. I hope to see you out in the ballpark very, very soon.
Me too.
I wish you and your wife, Sierra, good luck, and congratulations to Tatum for being a big brother.
Thank you. We appreciate it very much, and we look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Yeah, definitely. Have a good day.
You too. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Tucker.